Oh, hello. I'm Bob Fredrickson, and I'm here to talk to you about working in teams. Working in teams is a very important part of our lifestyle nowadays and is effective in all aspects of life, either at work, at school, or even on sports teams, as most of us have come to find. Today I'll be going over some key steps and to what I think is very important in working with teams and leading a team. A lot of you I know want to lead teams going forward in your career. So here are some key steps that you can use to lead an effective team in business and everyday life. Now, as a team leader, you need to sit there and look at your team and dive down into the qualities that they have. And of course, we all want that team member that's just what we call a shining star. You have your shining stars, you'll have your middle of the road, and then you have your Debbie Downers, as I like to call them, or your bottom end of the pile. Now, this center group makes up roughly about 90% of the total work population, either on a team or at the office. The top, your shining stars, will be about 3 to 4%, and then your bottom will be about 1 to 2%. And you need to sit there and be able to differentiate between the three categories to know what kind of team members you will have on your team. A very key attribute for shining stars will be that they communicate clearly. They're constructive and they're actively listening at all times. They provide back great detail, clear detail, but at the same time they will also actively listen. They're the people that are engaged in the conversation at the meeting table and not slouching in the back, not really caring, not paying attention. This is how you know that they are one of your top members. A next segment that they might fall into would be that they actively participate in these events. Like I just said, at a meeting table, they will be actively listening and contributing to the meeting. If you're out on a basketball team or a baseball team or a football team, they are the people that are always putting in the extra time. They want to participate, they want to be fully engaged, they want to make the team better. And you can tell this by their efforts. A big portion that they also exhibit is that they are very flexible. As we all know in life, with work, school, sports, what have you, everything changes. And flexibility is key. When it comes to practice, let's say for a sports team, you might need to do practices on Tuesday. Well, the field that you need isn't available until Wednesday afternoon. Being able to be flexible and switch your days in your schedule from Tuesday to Wednesday is very key. A lot of people who can't make those decisions or can't make that effort end up being on the bottom end and not the best team player. Now, yes, there are situations where they might not be able to do it due to childcare, work, school, what have you. It could be a number of reasons that are legitimate, but for the most part, you know those people who can't do it and the people who just don't want to do it. The people that don't want to do it are those who are going to be a problem in the long run. This really leads into my next point, is that your top performers show commitment. They are committed to the cause at hand. They want to achieve the goal. They want to make the team better. For a football team, you might be lifting weights extra. You might be doing extra PT. You might do a lot of extra work on the off hour when you're not in practice. This shows key commitment to the end goal that's on your team. Let's say you're in an office and you have a team member that's staying late, is putting in a bunch of extra time to make sure that the goal and the project at hand is the best and highest quality it can be. This is where they show their commitment. A key attribute that I think is extremely important is that they work as a problem solver. You want problem solvers on your team. In order to lead an effective team, you need to realize who are your problem solvers, who show up every day wanting to figure out that problem, to fix it, to jump over that hurdle, to make sure that the team does not have any road bumps in the road to their progress, and also exhibit the ability to solve the problem to bring the project up to the highest quality it can be. This is key. I know at my office, I'm one of those problem solvers. I show up every day to go through our systems to find that problem. And I don't always find the problem in a timely fashion, but sometimes that problem that you think is out there isn't there until you find it. And it's really paying attention to the details. For a problem solver, you want them to pay attention to the micro details. Could it be this? Could it be that? When you get to normality, you might have it be this for, let's say 6 months. And then within 24 hours or overnight, you come back in on a Monday and some things have just slightly changed. Well, I know for me, I want to sit there and ask, why is this? Why has this stuff changed? And many times we have found out that something has been changed on the back end that no one knew about. And this does and has sometimes affected our process to the point where we don't get our bid packages out on time. Because of these errors, it does cost us some business, but we try to limit that destruction by problem solving and figuring out difficult tasks at hand, either by making it more efficient or just finding the problem and giving it to higher ups who know how to solve that problem and figure it out, can be key in leading an effective team. Step one I would consider is, especially if you're a team leader, is to set goals. And there are many ways you can do this. The very first step you want to follow is setting clear and specific goals. You want to know what you want to achieve over a timeline of, let's say, 6 months, a year. And you want to sit there and make sure your team is well aware of the timeline and what the goal you want to achieve. After that, you want to break down the goal into smaller steps. Let's say you want to break it down into, by the first quarter of this time period or this year, we want to we want to achieve option A, B, and C. After that, you sit there and break it down into bigger groups, such as the first 6 months, first year. A lot of companies nowadays have 5-year, 10-year plans, and that's how they break it out. They break it of Q1, year 1, we want to achieve this. By Q2, year 2, let's say we want to achieve this, and they break it up like that, and it's always evolving. The next step is to track your progress. Track how far you've been coming on these goals that you've set out to. If you didn't meet your end of year 1 sales goals, you might want to sit there and re-evaluate your plan. Know what you're strong at and know what you're weak at. Your weaknesses can sit there and be a downfall if you have a great plan and you just sit there and you realize that you forgot to include this one little weakness. Like, let's say you have team members that are known to never show up on time, and your goal is crucial to people being punctual on their dates and on their timing of all events. This can be a major weak point, and it could sit there and drive your team down and help you not achieve the goal that you set out to do. Next step, really going back on the first, is to be accountable. You want to sit there and make sure that you're friends, but you want to hold them accountable for what you've set them out to do. Likewise, in the example before, if your friends are not on time that you work with, you need to hold them accountable and either reevaluate their needs and their ability, or sit there and give them different jobs to do or tasks to do on the goal at hand. The next step that I feel is important is developing a plan of action. If you have a team that you are leading, you need to develop a plan of how you're going to achieve the goal you just set out. The very first step, I think, that I feel is very important in this process is identifying the task at hand. You need to know exactly what's going on. Sit there and brainstorm all the tasks that you need to complete to finish the goal at hand. It's always easy to start out by realizing the goal and the key components. With the key components, you can sit there and break that down into smaller components that need to be dealt with to achieve that goal. And you sit there and basically take the top, break it down and it's a lot easier to sit there and know exactly what you need to do per segment of the plan to reach your end all goal. To analyze and delegate the task to your team. The team you have, you should know their weaknesses and their strengths. You should know who is able to do this task and perform this, while at the same time they might not be the great at doing a second object. You want to sit there and break it down, distribute it to your team members, and then periodically check up with them during the process to make sure that they fully understand what's going on and that they're accomplishing the task at hand on a timely basis. Again, punctuality is key in this industry. Another step that I feel is very important in this process is measuring and monitoring the process of your team. I know in my last section I brought it up, I really want to dive down into it. This is where you can set personal goals for your individual team members that you're in charge of to make sure they're hitting their deadlines. Let's say you have a paper due for a big meeting by the end of next week. Let's say it's Monday morning that you have the meeting. You want to have that paper done with a due date of, let's say, the day before, the business day before a Friday. That gives you a week to do it. Friday's the deadline. You want to sit there and make sure that your team has all the resources available and that they're able to sit there and do the project given at hand. If they're not able to do it and you give them a project, that will be very degrading to them. They will sit there and feel defeated right out of the gate because they personally know that they cannot do the job, but they're being required to go above and beyond on something that they aren't necessarily comfortable with. That's why my big point in the second key was to delegate your tasks to the best team members. On keeping with track with employees, or your team members, let's say, after the dates, you want to sit there and hold them accountable on the quality of the work. This all goes with the monitoring progress and how to measure it. Key components for measuring this go out to for the most part, realistic terms. A realistic measure, well, let's say an average person can write a 2-page paper in, let's say, an hour. Well, depending on the project at hand, they might need an hour and a half. Sitting there giving them 15 minutes and last-minute details and minimal details really isn't a good way to measure it because you're setting them up to fail. I feel if you follow this and give them precise, realistic goals and measurements to judge them on, will lead them to be much more effective and efficient in the workplace. Another key component of this process is to make sure that you and your team are on the same page, and that means working together. Working together for a common goal can be very gratifying for a lot of team members. You want to make sure that everyone's on board, everybody knows what's needed, and at the end of the day, to keep them together. Camaraderie in this is huge, whether it be in the workplace, at home, on the basketball court, baseball field, soccer field. All teams, whether it be professional, again, or athletic, need to be involved together. They need to be working for a common goal and to be unified. An ununified team only leads to disaster. A unified team leads to success, it leads to projects being done on time, and it leads to accomplishing the goals that you originally set out to do. This is key. If you don't have a unified team, you'll have nothing but drama. If you look at the Bulls back in the 90s with Michael Jordan and his team with Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and others sat there and unified. They unified over a common goal, and they accomplished that with their championship wins, with their playoff wins, and with their season records. The last step, at least it's one of my favorites that I've always done, is have fun. Goals in the workplace are never the most entertaining thing, so you want to make sure that you make your team members have fun. And having fun can be, casual Fridays, not just through the office, but for your team. Freaky fun Fridays, dressed up in like a clown suit, something, crazy out there. Have potlucks, treat your team out to dinner or to lunch. Send them home a little bit early. Make sure that they feel that they're a valued member of the team. I want to thank you all for coming here and listening to me today. I hope I've opened the door and opened your eyes to new information that you never thought of before. I hope that I've given you the tools and been able to inform you with new ideas that will help drive your success in whether it be sports, professional life, or even home life. I'm Bob Fredrickson, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.